Welcome to Wonder Yoga. My name is Alissa. Today's practice is about grounding. Especially in times of uncertainty, you may find that your energy is really restless. It might feel like you're kind of up in the air and having an outer body experience from where you're experiencing everything from the neck up and not feeling connected with your physical body. You might even be feeling uneasy, unsupported, unstable, and perhaps a little worried or anxious. So today's practice is really about connecting in with the physical body and grounding down, feeling the firmness, the stability of the ground beneath us. So we'll start from a seated position. I'm sitting on a small cushion, but if you feel uncomfortable in crossed legs, then you could sit on a bigger cushion that will raise the pelvis higher, or if you're still not comfortable, if it's really hard on your knees, then you could be in a chair with your feet planted firmly on the ground and preferably in an upright position, not slouched back. So we'll take a moment now just to settle in, to arrive here in this space, to get comfortable, have a bit of a wriggle if you need to. Don't feel like you have to stay where you land. Just get comfortable and just let everything start to shift, to center, to really drop in. Taking this time to notice how your energy is, how your mind is. If it's really busy, if there are a lot of thoughts going through your mind, you may even like to just close the eyes down to remove any external distractions, and that will also help you to internalize. So just feeling the ground beneath you now. Get a sense of really dropping in and feel that connection. Feeling the firmness of the ground beneath you. Start to notice the alignment of your body, the way everything is arranged or stacked. So from the pelvis, get a sense of the rib cage in relation to the pelvis, whether it's a little forward or a little back, or maybe you feel a bit hitched from one side to the other. And then traveling up to the shoulders, across the collarbones, the jawline and the crown of the head. Kind of like building blocks, get a sense of which part is forward, which part is back. You might even be able to create a sense of alignment where you feel centered between the front and the back. Let's try and refine our attention to just what's here. If you are feeling really distracted, if your mind is wandering, if your energy feels restless, that's okay. That's just where you're at right now. And our practice is to try and refine our attention just to what's here and to focus inwards through the breath. So often the breath is the easiest way in to connect in with the moment, with the present. Just following and observing the breath. Noticing where it is that you sense your breath. If it's all around the nostrils or the mouth, maybe you can hear the movement of breath up in this higher area of the body. Can you start to notice the breath move more around the throat area and the chest? So you might just sense the rise of the chest, the broadening of the collarbones, and the retreat, the softening down with each out breath. Feeling now the movement of your rib cage, the full expansion at the front, the sides and the back, and retreating inwards as the breath leaves your body. Could you direct your breath right down into your belly? So allow your belly to be soft and expansive and spacious. Inviting the breath all the way down. So we now have a breath that is expansive all the way out, all the way down into the belly, and then releasing, softening, quietening with the out breath. Noticing the different qualities of each phase of the breath. Energizing, spacious in-breaths. And as the breath leaves, you might get a sense of clarity, of groundedness, centered and calm. So we'll continue just with a few more rounds of breath. Simply paying attention to your breathing. Now with your next in-breath, let your shoulders broaden, lift your chest and raise your chin towards the ceiling, allowing the throat to lengthen. With your out breath, start to curl in and tuck the chin, rounding out. Another breath in, lifting and opening, but bigger this time. With your out breath, curling and rounding, you may like to hold your knees. One more time, lift and open. Bring your fingertips behind you. Really broaden across the shoulders, open the chest, flatten palms to the ground, and hold for an extra breath. And then with the out breath, float fingertips just ahead of you. Leaning in, let your shoulders start to feel heavy. Try not to completely drop the head. So just keep the jaw tucked in towards the throat and just lean in. Now come on over into a child's pose. Take your time getting there. Passing through hands and knees. Just bring your cushion in front of you. Step your knees a little bit wider towards the edges of your mat. Big toes move together. And then slide your hips a long way back. Let them ease towards heels. And stretch your arms out long ahead of you. Let your elbows come down. And you may like to have something to rest your head on. It could be the same cushion. It could be a block. Could be a bigger cushion. Or you might even rest your head completely down to the ground. But do try and completely rest your forehead on the cushion, block, or floor. Just staying in this pose now. Begin to feel the ground beneath you. The fronts of your knees, the tops of your feet, and whichever toes make it to the ground. Let your forehead feel really heavy. Feeling your forearms, the heels of your hands, and your fingertips. Noticing also the parts of your body that are touching each other. maybe the backs of your legs, calves to hamstrings. You might feel a connection between the thighs and the sides of your body. Feeling again the movement of your breath, and notice where you sense it in your body. Expanding, energizing with the in-breath. And notice the different quality of the out-breath as it leaves you feeling grounded, centered and calm. So we'll slowly rise now into hands and knees into a tabletop position. So move your cushion out of the way. Spread your fingers really wide and plant them under your shoulders. Stack your knees directly beneath your hips. So there's a little gap between the knees. Press down into every finger and into the base of your fingers. So we're pressing into the top of the palm right there. So we're not putting all of the weight into the heel of the hand. We want to try and use the entire hand. Shins are parallel, and just feel the contact of the fronts of the knees and the tops of your feet. So there's a sense of pressing down into the ground. Rather than just hanging here heavily, we're actually resisting the ground, pressing down into it. And then scooping the belly in. Let's round out into our cat pose. And then lengthen through into our cow pose. So belly down, eye gaze just ahead, tailbone lifted, and then rounding out again. Continue with your cat-cow movement. You may like to close your eyes. And our focus here is on connecting with the ground beneath. So feel the pressure in your fingers, in the base of the fingers, the circle of the palms, the fronts of the knees and the tops of your feet. Get that sense of pressing down against the ground and feeling supported by it. It may feel nice to move in time with your breath. So you might find that there's a natural way to breathe through one movement or the other. What feels best in your body? From a neutral position in our tabletop, we've got a little bit of tone in the belly, so we're not dropping through. We're also not hunching and rounding. We're nice and aligned, just like our building blocks that we did when we were seated. Feeling the alignment from the pelvis to the rib cage, to the shoulders, to the crown of the head. Pressing down into every fingertip. Pressing into the base of the fingers, into the mounds of the thumbs. And then tucking your toes under. Let's test out the strength of our pose by lifting the knees off and then lower them down towards the ground as low as you can without touching. Try not to drop your head. Okay, so we'll lift the back of the head. Come even lower if you can. Bring your weight forward. Hold for one more breath. And then send your hips high and push them back. So come right back into the legs and then walk on the spot. So bending one knee at a time, lengthening the other leg. Keep that connection of the fingertips. Feel your hands pressing down. And then we'll walk feet all the way up to hands, coming into a forward fold. So we'll bring feet around hip width apart. Bend the knees as much as you need to and just let your body hang. So if you like, you can have something to rest your hands on here. Again, the legs don't have to be completely straight. I would rather that you bent your knees and started to tilt the hips a bit higher and support your upper body as much as you need to. But let your head relax down, let your shoulders feel heavy. And start to feel the connection of the ground beneath your feet. So spread your toes wide, let every toe land. You might even like to hold on to your elbows or forearms. And begin to shift the weight a little forward, a little back, maybe even shifting side to side. Feel every part of your feet connecting to the ground. Notice how it feels to be heavier on one side than the other. Notice how different it feels to have your weight pitched forward or to settle back into your heels. Now just let go of your arms and we're going to roll up really slowly. Take as long as you want. So pressing down into your feet, feel a little lift in your belly as we slowly curl on up. And eventually when you're upright, continue to float arms up. Hands touch. Come down through center and just pause here for another breath. And then drop your arms at your sides. So we'll just take a moment here to settle in again, starting from the ground up. We'll just have a little softness in the knees, so we're not completely rigid in this pose. We've just got a bit more buoyancy in the body, so the body is more adaptable and responsive. Spreading your toes open, let them land. Little shift forward into the balls of the feet. You can have your eyes closed for this if you want. And then rocking back into your heels. And then settling through center. You might feel a bit heavier on one side than the other. Maybe you feel a bit twisted. So this is our time to internalize, to pay attention, to notice what you really feel here. Just like we did earlier, let's think about our building blocks. So from the heels, feel the alignment with the pelvis, up to the rib cage, across your shoulders, the jawline, the crown of the head, noticing what feels like it's forward, which parts feel like they're shifting back, and get a sense of being centered here, being aligned and at ease, supported and stable. Then we'll turn our attention to the breath, noticing how your breath feels in your body. Do you sense it up around the head area the most? Or maybe it's around the chest, the rise and fall. Maybe it's out to your rib cage. Maybe it's right down into your belly, or an overall sense of expansion and contraction. So the energizing, expansive in-breath and the grounding out-breath. Float your eyes open and step your feet just a little bit wider. So a little bit wider than shoulders. Bringing hands to hips. Sweep one arm down. And we're just going to bring it overhead, coming into a side stretch. So you could be looking down, forward or up, wherever your neck feels comfortable. So you can always close your eyes whenever you want to. Feeling the difference of the weight in your feet now. So do you feel heavier on one side? Let's breathe into this open space. Still keeping your body aligned, so we're not arching, we're not hunching, we're still just moving across one plane. And then hands to hips. Sweeping the other arm over. Down, forward or high. Feel your breath shift. Hands to hips, and you can either keep hands to hips or you can slide them down the thigh as we sweep over. And to the other side. Now stepping your feet even wider. And this time we're going to spin one foot to the side, bending that same knee. Keep the back leg really strong, pressing into the outer edge of the back foot. So anchoring down into both feet. Now floating arms open. Grounding down into the feet. But there's also this sense of lifting and lengthening all the way up to the crown of the head. Anchoring back down with each out breath. So expansive breaths in. Grounding out breaths. And then float your back hand to your leg and sweep the front arm over. You could turn and look up, you could look out, you could look down. And then bring your forearm lightly to your thigh, and this back arm is going to sweep all the way over. Turn and look up if it feels good. Notice if you feel really light on that back leg now. Can you really drive down into that foot? Pressing down into this front heel, keeping this arm really light. Now float your hand to the floor, lift your back heel. Now walk your hands around to the front. Turn your toes out to the diagonal, bend your knees deeply, and climb on up to your thighs. Drop on in. So we want that little lift in the belly. Pressing the knees open, sit hips back and down. If you can, sweep arms up. With your out breath, grounding down. And then rise on up. Turn toes out to the other side. Press into the outer edge of that back foot and then bend the front knee. So just feeling that your feet are in the right place. You might find that you're kind of leaning to one side. So let's try and bring the weight evenly into both legs. So front knee bent, back leg drawing up really strong, feeling that connection with the ground. With your next breath, float arms open. With the out breath, settle in. Just connecting in with the breath again. Floating your hand down to your leg and front arm sweeps over. Eye gaze wherever your neck feels comfortable. Notice if you're gripping your toes, keep them spread open and try and drop evenly into both feet. Now floating forward, forearm really lightly on your thigh, other arm sweeps over. Hands either side of the foot, back heel up. Walk your hands around to the front. Spin the heels in, toes out to the diagonal. Hands to hips or sweep on up. Drop in, pushing the knees open wide. Hold and breathe. Feel your feet pressing firmly into the ground. Hold for another breath. And reach on up, sweep arms down. Turn your toes in so we're bringing the outer edges of the feet parallel. Hands to hips and just tipping forward from the hips. Start to lean in and reach fingertips to the floor. So you could use blocks to bring your hands onto for a bit more support. And start to lift your hips high, drawing up through the kneecaps, and start to move your chest further down. Connecting in with your breath again. So we're lengthening up through the backs of the legs, staying long through the spine. Notice if you tend to drop your head, let's lift the jawline back towards the throat. Feel free to stay supported here, or if you want to take it lower, you might flatten the blocks down. You might remove them altogether. Now scoot one leg under and come and take a seat. Bring the soles of your feet together with your knees open wide. If you prefer, you could be sitting on your cushion again. And if you want even more support, you can bring a block under each knee or thigh. Or you could use some cushions underneath, just to create a bit more stability in your pose. So we'll just bring fingertips behind, roll the shoulders open, lift the chest, flatten your palms to the floor. Hold for another deep breath in. And with your out breath, we'll just float fingertips in front. Soften elbows, let the shoulders relax. Tilt the chin, draw the jawline back so we're not hinging at the neck, hanging the head. And just start to lean in. Feel the movement of your breath. Notice where you're feeling your breath. Allow yourself to feel grounded and heavier with each out breath. Now moving everything out of your way. Keep your blocks to one side, if you have them. Just grab the knees in and slowly roll all the way down. Flatten feet to the floor. Spread your toes open, drop into your heels. Bring your arms down the sides of your body so the feet are in a little closer towards your hips. Drive down into the soles of your feet and float your hips off. Make sure that your throat doesn't feel restricted. So we're lifting chest to chin, but lifting chin to the ceiling. Try and keep your knees in line with your hips so they don't fall out to the sides. And let's see if we can create that feeling of aligning from the shoulders to the hips and out to the knees. Creating that sense of alignment, so there's a lot of space to breathe into, so the breath is not restricted in any way. We'll stay up here just for a couple more breaths. Taking one last breath in, and then rolling down with your out breath. Feel every segment of your spine land individually, especially the lower back. Press it into the ground, keep rolling down until finally the pelvis lands, and then relax your muscles. Let your body settle into a neutral spinal position. So keeping your head heavy, float your arms a little bit wider. Let knees come over to one side and just fall there. You may like to turn your head to the other direction. Come up and over to the other side. Let the out breath settle your body in. Create a real sense of heaviness with each exhalation. Now bringing your knees up, step your feet a little bit wider apart and rest your knees together so that you can relax your thighs. So that's one variation that you can stay in today, or if you have a wall, a clear space against a wall, then you could spin around. Even if you want to, maybe you want to lay a blanket down from about the lower back downwards. Spin around, get your butt really close up against the wall. Arms just relaxed at your sides wherever they're comfortable. And it might even feel good to have something to rest against your feet. Now, whichever position you are in, feel the contact of the ground beneath you. Feel how heavy your head is against the ground. your shoulder blades, your upper back, the back of your hips, down your arms, backs of the hands, the soles of your feet if they're flat to the floor. Just noticing what contact you feel. Feel the firmness of the floor. Feel the support that it is offering your body. Feeling completely supported. Allow each breath to settle your body more heavily, so you feel the expansion of the in-breath, the release of the out-breath, leaving you feeling heavy, grounded, settled, calm. Draw each in-breath in for a count of 4. Just in your own time. And extend your out-breath for a count of 6. Counting the in-breath for 4. Lengthen your out-breath for 6. So with those extra couple of counts, really let the breath leave your body completely. Get that sense of dropping in for those last couple of counts. Letting go of something new, feeling even heavier. Let's make this cycle of breath our last one. So just move out of our pose really slowly. If you have your legs up the wall, slowly come down and remove the block if there is one. Rolling over onto your side. Rest there for a moment. Maybe curl your arm under your head as a pillow. Moving slowly to come up again into a seated position. So take as long as you need. You can grab your cushion again if you want it. let's come to a seated position. Bit of a wriggle to get comfortable again. Just keep your eyes closed a bit longer. Feel the alignment of your body. The way the building blocks are stacked. Now feel the expansiveness of your breath. Drawing it right down into the belly, out to the ribs, up to the chest. Releasing it out. And we'll all just take one more breath to finish. With your in-breath, sweep palms high. Hands come together. Come down to your heart space. Namaste.